Welcome back. As we warm up for the big game, we're talking about sports law with Professor Michael McCann of the University of New Hampshire and Sports Illustrated. And Mike, we were talking about Roger Goodell's pre-Super Bowl press conference the other day. No questions that I heard about concussions. The NFL this year introduced the kickoff rule and the helmet-to-helmet contact rule. Have those rule changes been effective at addressing the problem, and what is the status, legal status, of the concussion situation in pro ball?
So there's some evidence that they've had an effect in terms of diminishing concussions, or at least reports of concussions. But the larger issue is that it's going to be difficult to change the game in a way that preserves what we think about NFL football and making it into something safe. The reality is that these are very large men running at fast speeds, consistently colliding with each other. And of course, doctors have said it isn't just the concussion, it's that subconcussive impact. It's that hit after hit after hit that really has an effect on the brain, that's corresponding to long-term neurological harm. The legal status is that the NFL and players who had sued, retired players, have reached a settlement that pays about $1 billion over 65 years, which sounds like a lot, but this is a league that generates about $15 billion every year. So $1 billion over 65 years isn't quite as large as it would seem.
I thought I read somewhere there's already been $500 million in claims filed.
There are, and there's some issues with players getting paid. In any complex settlement, this isn't necessarily unique to the NFL. We've seen it in other class actions. It can be difficult for people that deserve pay to actually get paid.
I wanted to ask you, I noticed the Boston Globe was running full-page ads recently touting a bonus episode of its podcast series on the Aaron Hernandez story. And I heard a couple of the episodes. It's very well done by the Globe, and I guess very popular. But we've got that. We've seen multiple TV documentaries about Aaron Hernandez. This is the story that just keeps... And now Jose Baez, the lawyer, the high-profile lawyer who was up here on the Hernandez case, he's now defending Harvey Weinstein, which I thought was interesting. But what is it about the Hernandez case that continues to generate this appeal? Will it ever end?
I think it will end, but it's not going to end for a while because the litigation in terms of appeals can play out for quite some time. Yeah. But I think the appeal of it is in part, he was a New England Patriot. Yeah. He was a guy Tom Brady was throwing to. He was the other tight end next to Rob Gronkowski, that he's part of the larger narrative of the Patriots. He was a pretty key player on the team while he was there. And then there's, of course, just the sort of commonsensically hard to grasp fact pattern that he would sign a $40 million contract, but murder at least one person, be accused of murdering others, shooting perhaps 5 people over 11 months in 3 separate incidents. I mean, just that the fact that it's just hard to grasp that he would act that way.
Well, you mentioned appeals. What's the legal status?
Well, the families have still brought lawsuits against various persons involved, including the NFL, whether or not Hernandez's CTE may have contributed to his acts. Now, we'll see if you can show that getting CTE, first of all, it's hard to prove when you got CTE, because if you're an NFL player, you've played in college, you've played in high school, you've played in Pop Warner, and even developing CTE, does that lead someone to commit a murder? We'll see.
So we'll be continuing to hear about this.
That's right.
Wow. Well, Mike, thank you very
John.
much for being here. And if you want to hear more from Mike McCann, we're heading upstairs to tape a segment for our Studio BZ podcast that'll be dropping next week, so check that out as well. But right now, it's back over to my colleagues for more WBZ News. Go Pats.